Hey guys, this is Scott from the Market Dominators Real Estate Team here, and I want to take a moment to just talk about basements, okay? Your foundation, your basement, your crawl space, whatever it might be, is vitally important to your home for a couple reasons, but the biggest reason is it's what the rest of your house sits on. So you want to make sure when you're buying a house, when you're looking at something that you're going to invest a lot of money in, that the foundation, what it's built upon, is in good shape. Now, there's going to be a couple of different types that you can find, a couple of different types of basements, right? You might have a full stand-up basement, kind of like what I'm in right now. You might have what's called a crawl space, which might only be maybe half of this height, literally designed to crawl in, right? You can't really stand up, but you just crawl. And then you might have what's called a slab, which is there's no basement and the house just sits on a concrete slab. Now, where we are in Buffalo, New York, Western New York, basements are very, very, very common. I know other parts of the country, basements aren't as common, but here we have most of our houses are full stand-up basements. Now, this house that I'm currently in right now that I just got done showing to a client was built in 1910, so it's about 112 years old, and it has what's called a stone foundation. There are really three different types of foundations that you're going to see when you're looking at a home. If it's older, like this, it's very, very common to see stone. And when I'm talking stone, I'm literally talking pieces of stone, rocks put together, mortar in between them, and that is the wall that the rest of your house lays on, right? Now, we don't build houses like that anymore. It's more common if you're looking at a maybe slightly newer home, maybe built within the last 60 to 70 years, you're going to find a block foundation. So that's literal cinder blocks that are sitting on top of each other. That's your foundation. And then if you get into even newer homes, maybe within the last 50 to 30 years, give or take, you're going to see what's called a poured foundation. Actual poured concrete. That's the strongest, most durable type of foundation. But a foundation like this, there's nothing wrong with it. It works, right? This has been around for 112 years. Now, characteristics of a stone foundation, they're going to be a little damp in terms of the basement, okay? This is stone. Stone is porous. The mortar is very old, and it's porous. And so ultimately, these basements tend to be a little on the damper side. Now, I'm not talking about water just flying in here and completely flooding this place, but if it feels a little damp, you might want to be running a dehumidifier. And if you do have things down here such as laundry, hot water tank, furnace, you want to just keep an eye on them and make sure that they're off the ground a little bit so that they're not sitting directly on the basement floor. Now, if we're talking about basement floors just for a minute, you can get, really, it depends, but in this instance, you have a concrete floor. But when this house was built 112 years ago, it actually had a dirt floor. So this is literally, and it's hard to see, there's not a ton of lighting, but you can see there's literally just stone and dirt, right? So that was how the basement was made. It was made with a dirt floor that was dug up, and then they laid stone and mortar, and that's what kind of kept the house together. That's what the foundation is. So 112 years later, it's still looking great. They obviously at some point came in and actually poured a concrete floor, which is just nicer if you're going to use this as storage and keep stuff down here. You're not keeping it necessarily on the dirt. You're keeping it on an actual concrete floor. But this is one of the basement types that you're going to find in terms of the walls. We're huge on education and making sure that our clients understand that, hey, a stone wall, a stone foundation, not necessarily bad in any capacity, but is this a basement that you're going to be finishing? Probably not, honestly. Is it a basement that you're probably going to be coming down very actively and using a ton? Maybe, but probably not, because it could be a little more moist down here, right? So in general, you just want to know what you're looking at. You want to make sure that you have an understanding. Stone foundations. Now, we'll take a look at a block foundation, and we'll also take a look at a concrete foundation so that you can kind of get an idea of how these three sort of stack up. So stay tuned.